This is the project presentation for Mission College, brought to you by the Degree Qualification Profile Project, which is sponsored by the Accrediting Commission for Community College and Junior Colleges with support with the Lumina Foundation. The development participants were the SLO Task Force and the coordinator, the Curriculum Committee Chair, the Office of Research, the Counseling Department, and the selected departments that participated in the project. They are the Communications, Math, and Psychology. They were chosen because they have the best fit to the program before we could roll it out to everybody else. The presentation of the DQP program was made primarily to the Academic Senate, the Division Chair Council, and the Professional Development Day, which we call Flex Day on campus. It was also rolled out to the departments involved who had some discussions on the implementation. We also established a web page, and you can see a section of that web page. One of the major activities that we did was the mapping of the courses SLOs. So we went in and looked at the actual courses for the three departments and their SLOs. We then mapped them to the ILOs, which is the institutional learning outcomes, and of course the DQP areas. We then mapped the program level outcomes to the DQP areas, then had wider conversations and began the process of documenting the needs in order to have a fuller implementation of the DQP profile. This is an example of one of the maps, the psychology program, the department. On the left, you'll see the SLOs. On the right, you see the program level PLOs, and in between, you see the various ILOs and DQP areas. We then had to streamline and clarify our ILOs, and we went from having, I think, about 16 of them down to 3. The critical thinking, which we actually consider part of the quantitative as well, personal development, communication and information competency, and then, as I said, we mapped them to the DQP framework for the 3 transfer degrees. These departments have ADTs, which is the Associate Degree for Transfer. We did find we had some obstacles, primary of which was our massive turnover in the last year. We have now a new president, a new VPI of instruction, a new institutional researcher, a brand new PLO coordinator, SLO coordinator. So a lot of the institutional knowledge did not make that transition very well. So we had to hit the ground running and try to figure out what others had done to try to make it work. And so that led to some difficulties. We discovered a need to shift the culture amongst the established faculty. We're a little more resistant to SLOs, let alone DQP and this area. And we had a problem with overcoming minority students' cultural educational traditions. You had the Asian students who did not have a tradition of questioning and speaking up in class. So some of the SLOs and DQP areas were hard to measure because we couldn't get the students to participate fully. So we're in the process of overcoming these obstacles. We're learning from these obstacles and moving forward from there. What our key learning was that we had some difficulty measuring the SLOs and the DQP areas in those departments that did not have a capstone course. So we had to figure out, did we do a survey? Do we do some sort of SLO that's across all of the courses? It was a measurement process, and we're in the process of figuring out how we're going to measure this. We decided that follow-up with our graduates would become necessary, and so we're working on a process to follow up on our graduates, the transfers as well as the terminal degrees. We identified a need then to streamline the assessment process in of itself, whether it be the SLOs or the PLOs or the ILOs, on a much larger scale beyond the 3 departments that we had initially started with. And we discovered that we probably should develop a more common testing center that would then handle all of the assessment process and analysis. Moving forward, we want to implement, obviously, beyond the initial 3 departments. There is some interest in some of the departments, but we haven't been able to concretely get them on board. The preliminary results will then be used in the 3 departments that we currently have as a baseline for future assessment, and then once those other departments come online, we will use the preliminary results in those departments as baseline in the future. And of course, then aligning our courses more closely with our local transfer institutions so that we can guarantee to those institutions that a degree from us is actually a quality degree. And the DQP project is assisting with this. So in summary, we needed a larger dialogue. We need a little more time to assess the impact. You know, it's too early in our process because of the turnover to be able to say, yes, we're having an impact. So we're going to continue this process, and it's probably going to be at least another year before we can actually start seeing the impact on our students. And of course, as I mentioned before, we're having to shift the culture, and DQP is helping with that culture shift to be able to say this is the process, this is our end goal, and have documentation for the faculty to see, yes, okay, this is what we really need. So this was brought to you, of course, by the Degree Qualification Profile project, the ACCJC, Lumina Foundation, and specifically from Mission College from the SLO Task Force and the Office of Research Planning and Institutional Effectiveness. This is our website if you would like to actually see the website that I had mentioned earlier, among the other things that we are doing in the process. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at Mission College. I'm the SLO coordinator, Catherine Wood, K-A-T-H-R-Y-N Wood, and the Office of Research and Planning Institutional Effectiveness is handled by Sarah Randall, with an H in Sarah. Randall is R-A-N-D-L-E at wvm.edu, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.